Good afternoon. Today I want to take you back to 12th century England, to a small village in Suffolk called Woolpit, where one of the most enduring and peculiar mysteries of the medieval period unfolded. Around the year 1150, villagers discovered two children at the edge of a wolf pit, children whose skin was green, whose language no one recognized, and whose origins remain debated to this day. This is not merely a quaint folk tale. It is a story recorded by two independent chroniclers, a story that sits at the intersection of history, folklore, and the medieval imagination. Over the next several minutes, we will examine what happened, who recorded it, and what scholars have made of it across nearly 9 centuries. Here is our path through the material. We will begin with the discovery itself, the scene at Woolpit, the children's appearance and behavior. From there, we turn to the two medieval chroniclers who preserved the story for us, William of Newburgh and Ralph of Coggeshall, writing independently within a few decades of the events. Then we will survey the major interpretive frameworks that scholars have applied, from the folkloric and otherworldly to the rigorously rationalist. Finally, we will consider what this strange episode tells us about the medieval mind and about the nature of historical evidence itself. Let us begin at the beginning, or as close to it as we can get. Suffolk, around the middle of the 12th century. The village of Woolpit takes its name from the Old English wolf pit, the wolf pit. These were deep trenches, originally dug to trap wolves that once roamed the English countryside. It was beside one such pit, according to the chroniclers, that the strangest discovery in the village's history was made. Picture the scene as Ralph of Coggeshall describes it. Reapers were working in the fields near the wolf pits when they came upon two children, a boy and a girl, huddled at the edge of a pit. What struck the villagers immediately was the color of their skin. It was green, a vivid, unmistakable green, as if they had sprung from the earth itself. Their clothing was made of an unfamiliar fabric that no one in Woolpit could identify, and when they spoke, their language was utterly unintelligible, gibberish to the ears of the Suffolk villagers. The children appeared frightened, disoriented, and overwhelmed by the daylight. The children were taken to the home of Sir Richard de Calne, a local knight, where they were offered food. And this is where the story takes one of its most peculiar turns. For days, the children refused every kind of food put before them. Bread, meat, stew, they would touch none of it. Eventually, someone brought green broad beans from the garden, and the children seized upon them ravenously, eating them straight from the stalk. For a long while after, beans were all they would consume. The boy sadly grew progressively weaker, succumbed to illness, and died not long after being baptized. But the girl survived, and her story was only beginning. The girl remained in Sir Richard's household, and over time she underwent a remarkable transformation. Gradually, the chroniclers do not tell us exactly how long it took. Her green complexion faded, and she acquired a normal, healthy skin tone. She learned to speak English, was baptized into the Christian faith, and was given the name Agnes. According to Ralph of Coggeshall's account, she eventually married a man named Richard Barre, a royal official in King's Lynn. She had crossed, in a sense, from one world into another, and she left behind only the faintest trace of where she had come from. We owe our knowledge of this entire episode to two men writing within a generation of the events. This is what elevates the Green Children from mere folklore to a subject of serious historical inquiry. We have not one but two independent near-contemporary sources. Both were respected churchmen and historians, and both took pains to record what they had heard from witnesses. Let us meet them. Let me introduce them properly. On the left, William of Newburgh, a canon of the Augustinian priory at Newburgh in Yorkshire. He included the story in his Historia Rerum Anglicarum, completed around 1198. William was a careful, critical historian by the standards of his age. He is often compared favorably to Bede for his skepticism toward the fantastical. On the right, Ralph of Coggeshall, the 6th abbot of Coggeshall Abbey in Essex, who recorded the tale in his Chronicon Anglicanum around 1220. Crucially, Ralph claimed to have received his information directly from Sir Richard de Calne himself, the very man who sheltered the children. Two chroniclers, two accounts, one enduring mystery. What does the timeline of the legend look like? Let us trace it from the discovery, probably during the reign of King Stephen. That places it somewhere between 1135 and 1154. Shortly after their rescue, the boy sickened and died despite baptism. Over the following years, perhaps a decade or so, the girl gradually acquired English, lost her green color, and integrated into the community. The first written account appears around 1189 to 1198 with William of Newburgh, followed roughly 2 decades later by Ralph of Coggeshall's version. And in her later life, if Ralph's account is accurate, she married a certain Richard Barre and lived out her days in King's Lynn, remembered by those who knew her as Agnes. For over 800 years, scholars, folklorists, and the simply curious have tried to explain the Green Children. The theories range from the soberly rational to the extravagantly speculative. What unites them is the sheer difficulty of accounting for all the narrative's strange details simultaneously. The green skin, the unknown language, the refusal of normal food, the subterranean origin story the girl reportedly told. Let us survey the main contenders. The first family of explanations treats the story as folklore, as a narrative encoding deeper cultural meanings rather than literal events. Some scholars connect it to the rich fairy lore of East Anglia, where tales of the otherworld and its inhabitants were common. The Green Children, in this reading, are changelings or visitors from a fairy realm. The girl eventually described her homeland as St. Martin's Land, a place of perpetual twilight where everything was green. For some, this evokes a subterranean world. For others, especially in more recent, speculative readings, it suggests extraterrestrial origins, with the Woolpit reinterpreted as the entrance to a crashed spacecraft. These theories tell us more about their proponents' imaginations than about 12th century Suffolk, but they reveal the story's extraordinary imaginative pull across the centuries. The rationalist tradition, by contrast, asks, could a real event underlie the strange details? The leading medical hypothesis points to chlorosis, a form of iron deficiency anemia that can give the skin a greenish pallor, possibly exacerbated by prolonged malnutrition. Another influential theory, proposed by the historian Paul Harris in the 1990s, suggests the children were Flemish immigrants. After the turmoil of King Stephen's reign, Flemish-speaking orphans, displaced and starving, might have been discovered near the Woolpits. Their unknown language was simply Flemish or a related dialect, and their green complexion a consequence of dietary deficiency. A third suggestion invokes arsenic poisoning, which can also produce greenish skin. The problem, of course, is that none of these explanations accounts for every detail of the story, and the girl's own account of a twilight underworld, if she ever gave one, remains stubbornly resistant to rationalization. Let me leave you with this. The Green Children of Woolpit remain one of medieval England's most captivating unsolved mysteries. We have 2 independent chroniclers, a named historical figure in Sir Richard de Calne, and a village whose very name, Woolpit, anchors the story in a real place. And yet, after nearly 9 centuries, no single theory fully accounts for every detail. Were they Flemish immigrants lost and suffering from dietary deficiency, survivors of a persecuted community, or characters in a folktale that somehow found its way into the historical record? Perhaps the enduring power of the story lies precisely in this ambiguity. It sits at the crossroads of history, folklore, and the human need to explain the inexplicable. Thank you.